Now, making video games is no small feat, especially in this day and age where the competition is so strong and the fan bases are so demanding. And it doesn't help either that pressure piles on a developer right from the very moment that a new title is teased, be it from the people inside the operation or indeed outside of it. Targeted release days, hype from the outside, poorly managed deliverables, all of these things and more can cause havoc behind the scenes. And what's more, with the influx of games that list themselves as live service titles has led to a steady stream of games being released that are clearly not ready to leave the development stage. But you know what? Even absolute stinkers can begin to shine after years of polishing developer releases and patches. So while they might have come out the gate and absolutely flopped on their face, in this day and age, well, they're doing much better. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 hated video games that got really good. Number 10, No Man's Sky. Now, No Man's Sky is the embodiment of all bluster, no substance. With all of co-founder Sean Murray's sweeping promises prior to the launch only setting up the game for one of the most botched releases in history. But roll on to 2022 and No Man's Sky might also hold the crown as the biggest redemption story in the industry. The number one criticism leveled at the game on launch was that it lacked character, which has led Hello Games to make a real effort to give each new update a more obvious theme. The Desolation update, for example, did a stellar job in showcasing the potential terrors of deep space through an atmospheric abandoned setting. For multiplayer, a full 4-player experience was delivered in the No Man's Sky Next patch, and the Beyond update allowed up to 32 players to join the same server. There have also been updates that have brought with them a revamped inventory system, upgrades for settlement customization, and new visuals, biomes, and terrains. Credit has to go to Hello Games for listening to feedback, sticking with their project, and making No Man's Sky one of the most worthwhile experiences even in 2022. Number 9, Street Fighter V. Rushed out in February 2016 to have it available for the game's professional circuit, Street Fighter V had a ridiculously small character list, especially compared to what most fans were used to, as well as numerous modes missing and a slew of technical issues and broken online servers. But the response from Capcom after releasing an obviously unfinished game has been about as fast as anyone could have hoped for. Online multiplayer was fixed, the cinematic A Shadow Falls was released as a story mode, new characters were shown, and Capcom even found the time to throw in arcade mode for fans to enjoy. The 2020 release of the Champion Edition also brought with it a number of changes that helped the game at both esports and casual levels. Every character was given a second V-skill via a free upgrade, and the positive response to the 5th season encouraged Capcom to deliver a 6th season which included 6 new characters and 3 new stages in February 2021. In fact, reception to Street Fighter V has improved with fans so significantly that the game has gone on to become the highest-selling title, shipping 6.6 million units to date. Number 8, Fallout 76. Now listen, you guys know that I do not actually enjoy Fallout 76. Even with all the fixes that they put through, I personally do not enjoy this experience, but I have to accept that this game has improved a lot. Intended to be an ambitious multiplayer sequel to 2015's Fallout 4, Fallout 76 was released in November 2018 and was almost immediately thrown to the wolves by fans and critics alike. The patchy connection and slew of technical bugs were hardly great, but the biggest showcase of just how much Bethesda had missed the mark was with the complete absence of any human NPCs in the game. Recovering from such a dismal launch was always going to take a monumental effort, though the Wastelanders update has undoubtedly helped convert a lot of naysayers. NPCs were introduced, new quests were added, and settings were altered to breathe new life into the game and finally make 76 feel like a true Fallout title. The game's latest seasonal update, Expeditions: The Pit, has continued to improve the game's standing with the community. The update brings with it a brand new location not seen since Fallout 3, as well as a whole host of new missions that are intended to be repeatable and stacked full of exclusive rewards. The update has new factions and dialogues, and even this edition looks to be added on in the future, showcasing that there's still plenty of life left in Fallout 76. Number 7, Diablo 3. Despite shipping 3.4 million copies in its first 24 hours and going on to become the best-selling PC game of the year, there were some pretty hefty criticisms thrown at Diablo 3 during its first few weeks on the shelves. The bulk of these criticisms were directed at the always-online DRM requirement, which meant that players would always need an internet connection to join the Blizzard servers, even if they were only playing on the single-player campaign. There were also issues with the game's auction house, giving the game the label of being intensely pay-to-win. again. Thankfully, Blizzard was able to wrestle these criticisms away through persistent updates over the next few years. Patch 1.0.5 introduced the Monster Power system for hardcore gamers. Patch 1.0.7 brought the first PvP mode through brawling, and furthermore, BlizzCon 2016 brought with it the Darkening of Tristram for Diablo 3, a free patch featuring a 16-level dungeon, 4 classic bosses, special graphic filters, and 8 directional limited movement like the original entry. The game's first expansion, Reaper of Souls, was also added to the game, and that expansion helped redefine major parts of the Diablo experience at the time, introducing the Crusader hero, increasing the level cap, and improving the Paragon leveling system. Number 6. Fortnite. Given its incredible player base and longevity in the market, it's hard to think of Fortnite as anything other than the commercial behemoth that it is today. But go back to the summer of 2017 and the future of Fortnite, well, it looked very different indeed. With the first release coming in July, the game was initially a co-op sandbox survival title that saw players attempting to defend their town from hordes of AI enemies, with the Battle Royale version eventually dropping in September. As many of its critics will say, Fortnite was not the first Battle Royale title on the market, and its launch was actually fairly lukewarm back in the day. Many believe the game to be too similar to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and just an attempt by Epic to cash in on the genre's sudden boom. But fast forward 5 years or so, and Fortnite is now one of the most impactful video games ever released. Epic have turned their first foray into the Battle Royale genre into a remarkable success with continuous updates, fun and quirky storylines, and a whole slew of third-party partnerships that have helped Fortnite's value stretch past the $5 billion per year mark, and that is bloody impressive. Number 5. Halo 5 Guardians. The first title in the series to be released for the Xbox One, Halo 5 was immediately put on the ropes thanks to 343's decision to remove split-screen multiplayer, a feature that had been in the series since the 2001 original. Couple this with the mess that was the 24-player Warzone mode and the game's threadbare single-player campaign, and Halo 5's player count dwindled far quicker than most would have expected. However, credit to 343, the developers almost immediately set to work correcting some of their wrongs from the game's release. Josh Holmes, head of 343, announced that in order to support a more healthy multiplayer ecosystem, all future maps added to the game would be free for all players. A smart move given the backlash that the game had on launch. As well as the free maps, the game still receives regular updates as of 2022, and there have been numerous patches that have given players new game modes, features, and weaponry. The Cartographer's Gift and Memories of Reach patches were both particular high points in Halo 5's redemption, introducing the Forge and Infection game modes, as well as a slew of matchmaking customization options. Number 4. Destiny. Prior to its release in 2014, Destiny was riding the wave of some pretty hefty hype. However, when the game did drop in September that year, reception was much more lukewarm than what its pre-release hype had promised. It would take a whole year for the game to get an update that made it feel like the blockbuster hit that it was always meant to be, that coming in the form of the Taken King expansion in September 2015. But the Taken King absolutely did its job in making Destiny feel like a game for the ages. Released on the back of the House of the Wolves expansion that had brought the co-op Prison of Elders mode and the Trials of Osiris weekly challenges, the Taken King introduced new PvE features on the Dreadnought and Phobos, new subclasses for all classes, and 7 new Crucible maps. Coinciding with the big version 2.0 patch that amended the game's leveling and quest system, Sony would announce that the Taken King had broken the record for a day one game in PlayStation history for both total players and total player concurrency. Number 3. Tom Clancy's The Division. Tom Clancy's The Division immediately caught everyone's attention prior to its launch in 2016 when Ubisoft revealed some of the most gorgeous-looking visuals that fans had ever seen. However, in what was undoubtedly a style over substance moment, players quickly discovered that there wasn't much more to The Division than the visuals. Thankfully, when the company released Update 1.8 in December 2017, the game immediately shot back into everyone's good books. Prior to the update, Ubisoft spent hours working in tandem with hardcore players of the game to work out exactly where The Division was falling short. What followed was an update to the loot system, a new area with the West Side Pier, and 2 new game modes, Resistance and Skirmish. Resistance threw hordes of enemies at players to survive against, while Skirmish enhanced the Division's multiplayer with teams of 4 fighting it out for the highest kill counts. Not only did this help make The Division a game that every shooter fan had to play, but also a good lesson in how working with a community can help a publisher in the long run. Number 2. Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. Having been in development for 5 years, Square Enix released Final Fantasy XIV in 2010, though there had been numerous issues bubbling away behind the scenes that would make its release the most panned the series had ever seen. Things would go south so much that Square Enix brought in an entirely new team headed by Yoshi P, who insisted on pulling the servers down and making an entirely new Final Fantasy XIV remake, with A Realm Reborn coming out in August 2013. Thankfully, this would prove to be one of those rare examples of never giving up on a good idea. The remake ran so much smoother than the initial game, featured a whole host of better storylines, and offered a more authentic feeling title than what fans of the series had been served up in the original. What has really cemented A Realm Reborn as a title for the ages, though, has been the continued support Square Enix has shown the game through 4 major expansions, and 2015's Heavensward still stands as one of the most impactful of these from a gameplay perspective, introducing 3 new PvP modes, Rival Wars, Wolves Den, and Frontlines, for what is still one of the best MMO experiences in the market today. And number 1, Assassin's Creed Unity. By 2014, it was clear that Ubisoft were hell-bent on pumping out an Assassin's Creed title every single year, and this rushed schedule would eventually catch up with them in that year's release, Unity. The game was absolutely riddled with various glitches and bugs that, when coupled with the overall samey feel of the gameplay, led to Ubisoft having to issue a public apology and the Dead King story expansion for free as compensation for those that had to endure its early days. But in the time since that game's initial release, Ubisoft have remained committed to their efforts to try and make Unity as solid as possible. Not only did Ubisoft hand out copies of the Dead King's expansion for free, as I've already said, but a whole slew of patches and updates have been given to Unity since its launch. These fixes now mean the game runs without a hitch, allowing players to focus on the compelling missions, stunning Parisian setting, and combat mechanics that stack up just as well, if not better, against its successors. In fact, rumour has it that the upcoming Assassin's Creed Mirage is set to take some pretty heavy inspiration from Unity as Ubisoft look to revert back to their roots. And there we go, my friends, those were 10 hated video games that got really good. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules, so you can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ, but the O is a 0, or you can swing by Instagram, whether it's the same handle, RetroJ, but the O is a 0. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Much like the games that we spoke about today, sometimes improvements to ourselves, be they physical, mental, or spiritual, can take some time. You have to break that mold in order to find a new fitting. But here's the thing, I know that that's a very difficult task to do, to challenge yourself constantly to be a better person, but remember, above all else, you are not alone. Friends, family, professionals in the support industry, these people are there and they care for you and want you to do well, alright? So please, go out there, treat yourself with love and respect, and remember, you are a massive ledge. As always, I've been Jules, you have been awesome, never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.